Most people see old age as a final, sad chapter. I see it differently. I see 9 traps we set for our future selves, guaranteeing that our last years become a prison of our own making. If you recognize yourself in just 3 of these, you are on a path to a grim future. Listen carefully, because the 9th trap is the one almost everyone falls into. A self-inflicted wound. When I look at how many people approach their later years, a deep sadness comes over me. I see souls who have fought battles, loved deeply, and gathered decades of wisdom, yet they move through their days like ghosts. They occupy space, but their spirit has already checked out. They are physically present but emotionally absent. And the greatest tragedy, this is not a sentence handed down by fate. It is a choice, made over and over, through traps that silently steal the soul. The first trap, the anchor of old grudges. I have spoken with so many older people whose entire being is anchored to the past. Their hearts are museums of betrayal, displaying every slight, every disappointment, every unfairness they ever suffered. They can tell you, with perfect clarity, who hurt them in 1992, how their dreams were crushed, how life owes them a debt that was never paid. This story of victimhood becomes their life's blood, the fuel that gets them through the day. But an anchor only does one thing. It holds you in place while the river of life flows past you. Every morning you choose to polish these old grievances. You choose to remain a prisoner of yesterday. You give power to people who have long forgotten you, to events that are over, to a pain that serves no purpose but to poison your present. These people speak with bitterness, find fault everywhere, and then wonder why their loved ones keep their distance, why the phone doesn't ring, why their final years are so crushingly empty. I've seen this trap suffocate more spirits than any sickness. The body ages, but the heart dies first. Crushed by the weight of resentment, it refuses to release. When you cling to a grudge, you're not punishing the person who wronged you. You are sentencing yourself to a daily dose of your own poison. You are forcing yourself to relive the worst day of your life, every day, leaving no room for new joy. The solution isn't to pretend the hurt didn't happen. It's to realize that forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. It's the act of cutting the anchor rope. It's choosing your own peace over the familiar pain of your past. The trap of the empty room. The second path to misery in old age is the self-imposed exile of isolation. I watch as people slowly build walls around themselves, calling it independence, when it is, in fact, quiet desperation. They tell themselves that people are complicated, that relationships are draining, that being alone is just simpler. This isn't a sudden decision. It's a series of small surrenders. You say no to a dinner invitation because it feels like too much work. You let a phone call go to voicemail because you don't have the energy for a conversation. You stop going to the club or the community center because it's not the same as it used to be. Each choice seems logical, but together they furnish an empty room that locks you inside and locks out the very connection that makes life worth living. I have met seniors who haven't had a real conversation in a week, who have no one to celebrate a small victory with, no one to call if they fall, no one who would even notice if they were gone. They live in homes that have become shrines to a life that is no longer lived, surrounded by photos of people who don't visit anymore. They fade away long before their last breath, and often, this isolation is just fear wearing the mask of strength. They say they don't want to be a burden, but the real fear is of appearing weak, of admitting they need love and connection, just as much as they did at 25. So they choose the silent agony of loneliness, but we are not built for solitude. We are tribal creatures. The people who age with joy know this. They show up for others. They ask for help. They share their stories and their time. They understand that love is not a weakness. It is our primary source of strength. The trap of the rusting mind. The third trap is letting your mind become a tool that you no longer use. I see people who, the day they retire, also retire from thinking. They stop learning, stop questioning, stop being curious. They fill their days with passive entertainment and then wonder why their minds feel dull. why they feel so disconnected and purposeless. Your mind isn't a library you fill and then lock the door. It's a workshop. When you stop creating, stop experimenting, stop bringing in new materials, the tools start to rust. You become mentally inflexible, irritated by change, and trapped in the same thought loops you've had for 30 years. I've seen sharp, intelligent people become dim echoes of their former selves because they bought into the lie that learning has an expiration date. They gave up challenging books, deep conversations, and new skills. They surrendered to the idea that they were too old, that their ways were set, that thinking hard was too much effort, and their world shrank to the size of their living room. The most alive older people I know are perpetual students. They are learning to use a tablet, arguing about politics, reading about discoveries that challenge what they thought they knew. They know that mental vitality isn't about age. It's about engagement. It's about the refusal to believe your best ideas are behind you. When your mind is active, you remain a participant in the world, not just an observer. You have wisdom to share, and your capacity for joy remains infinite. The trap of the betrayed body. The fourth trap is treating your body like a disposable container. I see elderly people who have surrendered to physical decline as if it were a mandatory sentence. They accept aches, stiffness, and weakness as their unchangeable reality. They stop moving their bodies, and then they're shocked when their bodies stop moving them. Your body is the only vehicle you have for this journey. It has served you for decades, healed you, carried you. It asks only for basic maintenance, not abandonment. When you give up on your body, you give up on your ability to experience life. The great deception is that most of what we call aging is actually just a side effect of neglect. The immobility, the fragility, the chronic pain, so much of it is not a biological certainty, but a lifestyle choice. I have met people in their 80s who have more physical freedom than people in their 50s. The secret isn't genetics, it's consistency. They chose a daily walk when the couch was calling. They chose to lift light weights when it would have been easier to do nothing. They treated their body as a respected partner, not a broken down car. Physical health in old age isn't about looking young. It's about having the freedom to kneel in your garden, to pick up your grandchild, to walk through a city you've never seen before. It's about making sure your body remains a willing servant to your spirit. The trap of the closed book. The fifth trap is the belief that retirement is the end of the story. I see it all the time. People build a lifetime of skills, knowledge, and experience, and then, on their 65th birthday, they toss it all in the bin. They believe they have earned the right to be useless, to have no responsibilities, to have no mission. But a human being without a purpose is like a ship without a rudder, drifting towards the rocks. We are built to contribute, to solve problems, to feel that we matter. When you give up on purpose, you've given up on life. I have seen CEOs and master craftsmen become deeply depressed within a year of retiring. They had no reason to get up in the morning, no mountain to climb, no one to help. They traded the stress of responsibility for the crushing weight of irrelevance. The people who flourish in their later years understand that purpose simply changes form. It never ends. They find new ways to be of service. They mentor, they volunteer, they create, they become the wise elders their families and communities desperately need. Purpose isn't a job title. It's the conscious choice to stay in the game, to keep sharing your gifts with the world, no matter your age. The trap of the missing compass. The sixth trap is to arrive at the doorstep of your own mortality with no inner map, no spiritual compass to guide you. As your body changes, as friends pass away, as the reality of your limited time becomes impossible to ignore, you need something more than memories and possessions to hold on to. I have spoken with so many elders who spent their lives chasing success, only to find themselves terrified in their final years by the questions that truly matter. Who am I without my job? What was the point of it all? How can I face the end without being consumed by fear? Without a spiritual life, these questions are a source of deep anxiety. These people often become bitter, angry, and obsessed with denying the one truth they cannot escape. But those who have cultivated an inner life, through faith, through meditation, through a connection to nature, through philosophy, approach their final chapter with a sense of calm and acceptance. They know they are part of a story much larger than their own ego. They understand that death is not a failure, but a natural transition. Developing a spiritual compass isn't about religion, it's about developing the inner strength to face the ultimate questions with peace and dignity. The trap of the leaky lifeboat. The seventh trap is financial neglect that turns what should be golden years into a desperate struggle for survival. I have seen people who made good money their whole lives end up poor in old age because they lived for today and told themselves that tomorrow would take care of itself. Financial peace of mind in old age isn't about being rich. It is about having the freedom that comes from not worrying about money. It's the dignity of not being a burden, of being able to afford your medicine, of not living with a constant knot of fear in your stomach. The irony is that the path to financial security is simple, but it demands one thing our culture hates: deferred gratification. People spend their best earning years on instant pleasures, living on the edge, promising they'll get serious about saving later. But later eventually becomes now, and by then it's too late. The stress of being poor when you are old and vulnerable is a terrible, all-consuming thing. The elderly who are at peace almost always made a simple decision decades earlier to save a piece of every dollar they ever earned. They knew that while money can't buy happiness, a lack of it can absolutely guarantee misery. The final revelation. The eighth trap is to treat death as an enemy to be fought, rather than a final, natural event to be prepared for. Our whole society is in a conspiracy to deny mortality. We see it as a failure, but this desperate fight creates the very terror it tries to prevent. I have sat with many people in their last days. The ones who suffer the most are not the ones in the most physical pain. They are the ones who are spiritually unprepared. They spend their lives running from the thought of death, and when it finally corners them, all they feel is regret and terror. But the ninth and most devastating trap, the one that poisons everything else, is the belief that aging is a process of subtraction, that you are becoming less than you were, that you are losing your value, your beauty, your relevance. This is the ultimate misunderstanding. Old age is not subtraction, it is distillation. It is the process of boiling away everything that is not essential, leaving only the purest, most potent version of you. It is your chance to finally become the person you were always meant to be. When you fight to stay young instead of striving to become wise, when you see your wrinkles as flaws instead of a roadmap of your journey, you miss the entire point of a long life. The old people who take our breath away are not the ones who look the youngest. They are the ones who have been distilled. They wear their years as a badge of honor, and their presence is a testament to a life fully lived.